2024 interim financial reporting and FAR570 operating segment. We selected IHH Berhad and Genting Berhad as our company examples. For Part A, we will explain FAR570 significance, events, and interim reporting periods of IHH Berhad. For Part B, we will explain FAR5 about CODM, types of segment reporting, and its benefit to financial users. We hope this presentation helps everyone better understand these accounting standards.
FAR 134 Interim Financial Reporting is the accounting standard in Malaysia that prescribes the minimum content of an interim financial report and the principle for recognition and measurement in complete or condensed financial statement. An interim period is a financial reporting period shorter than a full financial year. In Malaysia, especially for companies listed on Bursa Malaysia, interim reports are usually prepared every 3 months quarterly or 6 months semi-annually. This helps investors and the public receive regular updates on a company's financial position. FAR 134 was introduced for 3 main reasons. First, to set standard minimum content for interim report. Second, to ensure companies use the same accounting policies as in annual report. Third, to highlight significant changes in financial position or performance since the last annual reporting date. Under FAR 134, companies can present a condensed set of financial statements instead of full report. These they include the 4 main statements: financial position, profit or loss, changes in equity, and cash flow. And last but not least, the selected explanatory notes, which explain only the key changes during the interim period so users can understand new development clearly.
For this question, I have identified 2 major significant events and transactions that affect an entity financial position and performance since the end of the last annual reporting period. Firstly, there are significant changes in revenue, and the second one is they are non-recurring or unusual. There are significant changes in revenue which are mainly influenced by seasonal and economic factors. Genting Berhad operate in the leisure and hospitality industry where performance is highly depend on tourism activities, festive season and holiday periods. The group operations are subject to seasonal fluctuations, meaning that revenue is not consistent throughout the year. For example, during peak period such as school holiday and festive season, there is higher number of visitors to resort, which lead to increased revenue. On the other hand, during off-peak period, revenue may decline. There are variations in revenue and overall financial performance compared to previous year. Let's move on to the other point, which is non-recurring or unusual event that have a significant impact on both financial performance and financial position. One key example is the recognition of impairment loss amounting to 392.5 million ringgit as disclosed in the income statement and further explained in the performance analysis. This is a substantial amount and represents a reduction in the value of asset, which directly reduces the company profit. Since impairment loss do not occur regularly, they are considered non-recurring and must be highlighted. In addition, Genting Berhad also undertook several major acquisitions as disclosed in the section Changes in Composition of the Group. This includes the acquisition of subsidiaries such as Stafford, Casing, and Genting Empire Resort LLC. This transaction involves significant investment and result in changes in the group asset base, including the recognition of goodwill and fair value adjustment. Such acquisitions are not part of normal daily operation and therefore are classified as significant non-recurring transactions.
The objective of this question is to identify the interim reporting period for both the current periods and comparative periods for the 4 main financial statements. These statements are important because they provide useful financial information to shareholders, investors, creditors, and management. The first statement is a statement of financial position, which is also commonly known as the balance sheet. This statement shows the financial positions of the company at a specific date. It is actually present what the company owns and what the company owes, and the remaining interest belongings to shareholders. And this statement is actually important because it helps users assess the company financial stability, liquidity, and second statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. This statement measures the financial performance of the company over a period of time. For IHH Healthcare Berhad, it is actually present two comparison. This statement is very useful because it actually shows whether the company performed well during the year, whether revenue increased, and whether the company remained profitable. The third statement is a statement of changes in equity. The statement explains movement shareholders' equity during the financial year. For IHH Healthcare Berhad, this statement is important because it actually helps users understand how the owners changes over time and how profits are distributed or retained within the business. The fourth statement is a statement of cash flow. This statement shows how cash flow in and out in the company during the reporting. This statement is important because a profitable company may still face problems if it does not have enough cash. Therefore, cash flow helps users assess liquidity and sustainability.
starting with MFRS Act, operating segment. So what exactly is an operating segment? According to the standard, it is a component of an entity that meets three specific criteria. First, it engages in business activity that earn revenue and incur expense. Second, it is operating result and regularly reviewed by the entity chief operating decision maker to make decision about resource allocation and performance assessment. And it has discrete financial information available. Operating segment represent the lowest level at which the management monitor business activity and make decision about allocation of resource. In summary, MFRS Act ensure that financial statement provide useful information about different parts of entity, reflecting how the management truly views and evaluate the business. To make this practical, let's look at IHH Healthcare. They are a perfect example of how complex organizations report their segment to help investors understand where their money is actually being made. When we look at their report, we see they utilize both types of reporting. First is product or service segments. IHH does not just report one healthcare figure. They disaggregate their revenue into healthcare service, laboratory service, education service, and management fees. Second is geographical segment. They also report performance across their diverse global footprint, specialized categorized by Malaysia, Singapore and India, Greater China, Turkey and Europe, and other parts of South Asia. Next is type of segmental report. Companies typically break down their operating in two ways. First, by product or service, which is a grouping activity by the nature of the goods or service provided. Second, by geography. It is a breaking down performance based on the specific location of the customer or the asset. Next is type of segmental report. Companies typically break down their operating in two ways. First, by product or service, which is a grouping activity by the nature of the goods or service provided. Second, by geography. It is a breaking down performance based on the specific location of the customer or the asset.
Next, I will briefly explain the Chief of Decision Making or CODM. The CODM is the person of group responsible for making important decisions in a company. These decisions include how resources are used, how performance is measured, and how different the segments are managed. The main role of the CODM is to make sure all departments are working towards the same goals. This is important because different departments may have different responsibility, so their decisions must not conflict with each other. Besides that, the CODM also ensure that the data used in decision making is accurate and available. This helps the company make better and faster decisions. For example, in Genting Berhad, the CODM role is carried out by both the chief executive and the board of directors. The chief executive manages daily operation while the board of directors monitor the overall performance of different business segments. In conclusion, CODM is important because it helps ensure that decisions in the company are aligned and effective. For example, in Genting Berhad, this role is carried out by top management. The Tan Sri Limpote, the executive chairman, focus on the overall strategy and long-term direction of the group. Next is Datuk Tan Sri Kong Han, the chief executive, president and executive director. He is responsible for daily operation and implementing those strategies.
Segmental reporting provides important benefits to users of financial statement. First, it enhances transparency in financial reporting by showing how different parts of business perform. Second, it provides better investment insight, helping investors make more informed decisions about the company. First, segmental reporting significantly enhances transparency. Usually, when we look at the consolidated annual report, we only see the total profit. This can be misleading because a high overall profit might hide a division that is actually losing money. By breaking the data down into segments, it ensures management cannot hide underperforming units behind successful ones. As we can see in the segmental report for IHH Healthcare, the healthcare services gain more profit than the laboratory services. Second, it provides better investment insight by pinpointing the real performance drivers of the company. Segmental reports allow users to see exactly where the engine of growth is located. This leads to much more accurate valuation instead of guessing. Analysts can apply different expectations to different segments, helping them forecast future cash flow with much higher confidence. In short, it turns a guess into a calculated financial decision.
While using IHH Healthcare Berhad and Genting Berhad as example, we can see how these standards provide better transparency, comparability, and useful information for investors, creditors, and other users. That is all from our group. Thank you for listening.